I am so excited for this episode. Hello, you guys. Welcome back to another episode of The I World. It is your host, Brittany, and you've got just me today. Me and Talia have been going through a lot of changes this week, which maybe we'll talk about on next week's episode. But I wanted to make sure I got an episode out for you guys today. And when I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about, I was like, I can't believe I haven't really done an in depth episode about my weight loss journey and actually just my journey with my weight because I actually feel like I have so much to share with you guys, and it is one of the most asked things on my page. Anytime I post about my weight loss journey, I get so many questions, and I do not believe in gatekeeping when it comes to losing weight because it is one of the hardest journeys. It is probably the thing I've struggled with more than anything else in my life. But just to kind of give you guys some background, if you don't follow me on socials and you don't know, over the last year and a half, I went from 315 pounds to 199 pounds, and I'm still on my journey. And I have never talked numbers. You're getting the exclusive here. But my weight, and especially the number on the scale, has been something that I have been so heavily ashamed of my entire life. I want to talk to you guys about how I finally got to a place where I could pursue losing weight without losing myself because my identity has been so closely tied to my weight for as long as I can remember, and it is something that really affected my mental health. I truly did not love myself until I was at my heaviest weight. So I want to talk about it because this has been a huge part of my journey, a part of my identity. I mean, for a while, I was definitely known as a plus size content creator on my platform because it was something I hated about myself so much. I really had to learn to love myself, and then it did become something I loved about myself. But let's get into it. Let's start back at the beginning, and just so you know, as you're tuning into this episode, I will tell you every single thing that I have done to lose weight that has been successful for me. And the number one thing that, if you follow me, you know, is that I do take Mounjaro, which is a GLP1 medication, and I'm going to talk all about that. So if you're somebody who's been interested in taking that medication, if you're somebody who is taking it and you're early on in your journey and you want to know if things are normal, just stay tuned because I am going to talk about everything. So I want to start off by saying that I grew up on Long Island in a town called Dix Hills, and I loved where I grew up, but a huge part of where I lived, and no offense to anybody who's watching this that's from there because I'm from there too, but it is like a very superficial demographic. Not only are you judged for like what you look like, but you're judged for how you dress, how expensive the stuff is that you own. I mean, money is heavily valued. A lot of the people that I grew up around, friends, family, cared so much about this outward appearance and very little about the inner self, which, as you know, if you guys listen to this podcast, that is mostly what we focus on, is who you are inside, and that is truly where happiness stems from. But I did not grow up feeling that way, and that is actually has nothing to do with my parents. Like, my parents are not like that at all. My mom has literally been wearing the same tattered shirts basically for my whole life. Like, she is the opposite of this kind of like persona that I am exemplifying for you guys, but this is like the school district that I grew up in, some of the people that I grew up around. I also grew up in a like crunchy mom household, and health was something that was heavily talked about, and it is something that my parents and especially my mom like really value to this day. But from the time that I was in 5th grade, I really like I remember going to gym and them weighing us, and I remember being 100 pounds in 5th grade, and that I guess that wasn't really the average or the normal. And that was the first time that I remember I got weighed, and one of my friends was like, oh my God, did you see blah, blah, blah was over 100 pounds? And it was like shameful. And meanwhile, so was I. And I just remember feeling like for the first time ashamed of my body and upset. And, you know, when you're in 5th grade, like, you're eating what your family is eating. You're eating what your parents make for you. My house was like Trader Joe's household. Like, this isn't something where we were snacking a lot or anything like that. It was just my body type. And it's so interesting because if you look at my siblings, like, I have struggled with my weight the most, but we all have me and I have 4 younger siblings. We all have very different body types. My brother, who is 2 years younger than me, is literally the opposite of me. I'm like, what the fuck happened in the womb? Why am I like so overweight and you're so skinny without trying? And we're eating the exact same foods. And like, don't get me wrong, my brother and actually all of my siblings were very active and were very like in sports and stuff. And there's like a little joke in my family that, that's my mom's fault because she did not allow me to join sports because she felt that if something happened and I got hurt that I was just going to cry and I was going to hate it. So she just like didn't put me in, and we tease her about it to this day. And Mom, if you are watching this, don't worry. We're all on the journey we're supposed to be on. I wasn't meant to be an athlete. I never was involved in any kind of like sports, and I just remember hating physical activity for my whole life. Like, I remember in 5th grade doing the turkey trot and being literally winded. I think I fell. I think I literally fell and face planted. Like, it was just not good for me. So I have just always been somebody who I did not like physical activity. Actually, as I'm now getting older and I understand the value of it, for the first time in my life, I am trying, like, I do see and want to be more physically active, but it's just not something that's ever come naturally to me. And I think just the way that my body type was, I was not someone who had a fast metabolism. I gained weight more so than my classmates, and also just being like even just a little bit heavier than your classmates when you're younger, it's like the biggest deal in the world. I mean, I was not like so overweight by any means, but it felt that way because of how people and kids were in school. I mean, I remember being called like a whale, and like there was nothing that warranted people talking to me like that. And it wasn't like everyone, but it was just my own insecurity that I think because I had no confidence, I really struggled. And I remember being in like 7th grade and weighing myself and weighing the same as my mom and being like, I'm a kid. Why do I weigh the same as my mom? And being that I had grown up in a household where like my mom was very into health and she was athletic and all like she was a gymnast and a dancer, and I just had a different body type than her. I don't really know that she knew how to like speak to me about my weight, and I think because of that I just harbored so much shame that I just had a lot of resentment whenever she would speak to me about it, and it just made it so that it was never a conversation we could really have. Now, my dad, on the flip side, had more of a body type like me, and he also really cared about health. And he decided to motivate me with money and gifts to lose weight. So when I was in 7th grade, I wanted to get a laptop, and he told me if I lost like, I don't know, 20 pounds or something, that I could get a laptop, and that's what I did. But that didn't like really last for me because I didn't really create a healthy relationship with my body. It was more so that like I have to do this thing in order to get something I want, but it wasn't a long lasting thing. And actually, I don't think I was in 7th grade. I must have been older because I think I was in high school. But losing weight the way that I was eating the exact same diet every single day. And I was really just restricting myself a lot. And that's actually when I started eating ice, which a lot of people make fun of me for because I still do that. But the whole thing, I had such a negative association with my weight and my body. And even when I got to my lowest weight, which was around 168 pounds in my junior year of high school, I remember I was like maybe lost like 30 pounds. Somebody saying to me like, oh my God, like an adult, saying like, you look so great, you lost so much weight, and just feeling that huge sense of shame associated with that weight loss, and just feeling like, what did you think about me before? And I think a huge part of this is I was a child, I was a kid, and I just already didn't feel beautiful, and I didn't feel like sexy, and I didn't feel like as, cool as the other girls. And part of that was like, I mean, looking back now, I'm like, I should have just learned how to dress for my body type and just learned that like my body isn't the problem, it's my confidence. And if I could go back in time and talk to a younger version of myself, I would just say, like, no matter what you do, if you lose weight right now, if you don't lose weight right now, you are beautiful. And if you don't feel like you look great, let's like move some of this stuff around here. Maybe like let's not wear the jeans with the 3 layers of shirts. Like, let's be a little bit more trendy. Let's get some leggings. I was definitely not a trendy kid. If I could go back, I would just change, emulate cool girl energy instead of just trying to dress for my body. I would dress the way that I wanted to and just exude that confidence, because confidence is really where it all changed for me. When I went to college, over the 4 years that I was there, I gained a significant amount of weight. And I think there were a lot of factors associated with this. First of all, I went on birth control. I got into my first serious relationship, which is my husband now. So yes, my first boyfriend ended up being my husband, my only boyfriend. And I went on birth control, and I remember bringing that up to the gynecologist that I went to at one point, because I remember going to the gynecologist and her being like, have you always struggled with your weight? And once again, feeling so much shame when she said that to me, because I just felt like, is that all that you see when you look at me? And it was just, I really lacked a lot of confidence. And I told her that I had gained a lot of weight after going on birth control, which was true. I had, struggled with my weight, but I was always around like maybe 200 at my heaviest, which is basically where I'm at right now. And maybe like 210, 215, the most. But after going on birth control, and I don't think it was the only factor, but I did gain a lot of weight. I mean, I probably gained like 40 or 50 pounds when I was in college. I think there were a lot of factors, one being birth control. And her answer was like, birth control doesn't make you gain weight. That's a myth. Yes, the fuck it does, lady. Like, birth control affects your hormones, and your hormones play a role in your weight. So like her saying that and just completely invalidating that was just major red flag. Never going back to her. But it definitely affected what ended up happening with my body, which I'll talk about more later on in this episode. I also was in a serious relationship, and for the first time, I finally felt accepted and like cool girl energy from the social life that I had. I joined a sorority. I became president of my sorority. For the first time in my life, I felt like, okay, I'm not just accepted by this small group of people, but there's a lot of people who like me. And I started to have this confidence. I also, for the first time, had people outwardly not like me, people also in my sorority who like did not vibe with me. And I actually faced them and just gained this newfound confidence where I was like, this is who I am. And if you don't like that, I'm really sorry you feel that way, but this is me and I only have good intentions. So during that time in college, I really got to know myself, and I really became who I am today, and only one version of myself. Along that journey, I started to feel more like confident and cool, and really started to like who I was for the first time. And I got into doing hair and makeup. People would compliment my makeup and ask me how I did it, and it just made me feel pretty for the first time. And when I started looking in the mirror, instead of just looking at my body, I started to look at my face, and I started to really like what I saw. And instead of focusing on the parts of me that I didn't like, I found things I did like. And I do think a huge part of that was my relationship, because I always felt like the girl that like the boys wouldn't like, and there was really no reason for that, except I just had no confidence. And now I like knew that somebody liked me, and somebody was interested in me, and somebody, thought that I was hot, and it just changed the way that I viewed myself and my body. And also being away from home, I, for the first time in my life, was in control of the food that I was buying. And I think that that was when things started to really go downhill for me, because I always, like I said, grew up in a very like health centric household. But even so, I struggled with my weight in that environment, once I went to college and then I eventually like moved off campus, I got an apartment and could cook things. I could eat all the things I wanted. I could eat Kraft mac and cheese. I could eat, had Five Guys down the block. I could just eat whatever I wanted. And I just didn't have a positive association with eating healthy foods because it was always something that I was so restrictive growing up that I couldn't have. And I was kind of like, I'm free. For the first time, I can do whatever I want. And I just think I went a little out of control. Let's take it back to 3 years ago. 3 years ago, as you guys know, my dad passed away, and I, for the first time in my life, could see that I used food as a coping mechanism. I never knew that I was an emotional eater because the emotions were not sad. The emotions were, this is my release at the end of the day. This is how I have fun. This is what I enjoy. Like, I remember working and going to Wendy's on my lunch break and being like, oh my God, I can't wait to eat this. I would sit in the car, I would eat my Wendy's, I would watch a show, and it was just turned into like my release and my way to decompress. But because it was always associated as something that was like a positive thing, I never looked at it as emotional eating. But when I moved into my house, I kind of went into this routine where I would eat normal all day long, sometimes eat healthy. Like, I was a very big sushi eater. I would always eat sushi. But then at the end of the night, I would sit on the couch, I would eat dinner, I would have dessert, and then I would just snack until I was full, and then I would go to sleep. And I think when you just do this over time, every single day, your stomach expands and you gain weight. But I also want to say that I wasn't like completely unhealthy too. During the day, I was healthy and I did try to do things like go to the gym and have healthy habits. I mean, I've had a gym membership for at least 5 years, probably more. Not that I use it in the way I should, where would go weekly, but I would definitely go to the gym and like try to be active more than I do now. But I also became a little bit of like the opposite of body dysmorphia. Like, I became body dysmorphic in the opposite way. And when I looked in the mirror, I saw nothing wrong with my weight. And I stopped weighing myself. And I just did not like how being overweight was so closely tied to my identity for people like in my family and around me. And I basically just exuded this attitude that, like, this is who I am. And you are either going to love me for who I am or you're not going to be in my life. And that's fine. I'm not talking to you about my weight because it's my business. And while I do back that and I do support that narrative, it also is the reason why I did not take care of my health for so long, because since I spent so much of my life hating my body, and this was the first time I ever loved my body, whenever somebody came in to threaten that, I just chose myself over them. And I was like, I'm finally happy. I finally don't revolve my entire self-worth around how my jeans are fitting me. So if you want to come in and make me unhappy and make me lose confidence, you must not love me. I know that that's not necessarily true. I think it really depends on the person, because if somebody is so like involved in your life on a daily basis and they want to say something, but it's not the only thing they talk to you about, maybe even if it's a hard conversation to have, there might be something to it. But my problem was when like people who barely spoke to me, like in my family and stuff, like that's what they would talk to me about. I'm like, you don't even really like care about anything that has to do with me. So I don't care what you're saying. So I remember weighing myself a few years ago, getting on the scale and being like 280 or 90 something pounds and being like, okay, I really don't want to get to 300 pounds. Like, that is crazy. I couldn't even believe it. I mean, I hadn't weighed myself in so long. I must have gained another 50 pounds from the last time I weighed myself. And I just was so not self aware of it because it was just the lowest thing of importance to me at that point. So I remember weighing myself and being like, okay, I have to do something here. So about 3 years ago is really when I started to try to take back control of my health. I started going to the gym. I was eating, actually during the pandemic. So this is like 4 years ago. I was trying to do the Optivia diet, which is like a meal program where you eat basically 500 calories a day and then one lean green meal. So it's a calorie restrictive diet. You eat these like prepackaged meals, and it didn't work for me. I did it for like a month and a half. I did not lose 1 pound, which is not normal. If you're eating in a calorie deficit and you're not losing any weight, not normal. It must have been over a month actually, because I had placed a few orders. I was probably doing it for like 2 months or maybe three, because I think I might have ordered like 2 or 3 times. It was just such a toxic way to live because I would eat food and then I would be like counting down the minutes because you had to wait 2 hours in between each meal. And I would literally sit there and wait till I could eat my next meal. And it was like 100 calories. And I was just so hungry all the time. And like doing it during the pandemic when I was home, it was just like you're in the house all day. It was just bad. It was just not good. I had also done keto before, which is what I did in high school to lose weight. And that was not like a long term thing for me. So once I was living on my own, I just said, you know what? I'm going to try to create healthy habits and eat cleaner food. And that's what I started doing. And it's so funny if you've tuned into any of the recent episodes of our podcast, Talia and I talk about how in our household, like it's very much focused on the quality of the food and not the like sometimes when you're eating very clean, you're eating very dense food. Like if you're drinking milk, the healthiest milk to drink is whole milk, but that is also a lot of calories. So I think that actually, like, I recently on that podcast episode, I was like, maybe that's why I somewhat struggled because I was never eating after Optivia in a calorie deficit. I was just eating healthy, but I was eating a lot of food. I mean, keto, you can eat as much as you want. It's just that you're eating no carbs. In 2021, when my dad passed away, that whole year, from August until June, so 2021 into 2022, I had only gotten my period 3 times. And I was starting to get concerned because that's not normal. And I always had a regular period because I was on birth control, but I had come off of birth control and I waited a few months. And I know they say, like, when you first come off, your period might be irregular, but 3 times the whole year. I mean, that's not normal by any means. And I went to my gynecologist in June and I told them, I only got my period 3 times this year. This is what I'm experiencing. And I think from my struggle with weight to my lack of regular menstruation, my doctor said, you might have PCOS. I said, what's that? They told me. And I did a sonogram and yes, I had PCOS, which is polycystic ovary syndrome. And with PCOS, one of the biggest struggles is gaining weight. And one of the ways that you can kind of cure your PCOS is by losing weight. But when you have PCOS, it's extremely hard to lose weight. My doctor said to me, you and I could do the exact same thing, and I will lose weight and you will not because of how this is internalizing like in your body. You also have like high testosterone when you have PCOS and you're insulin resistant. So most of the time you're pre-diabetic as well. So all of these factors were like happening and were contributing to my struggle with losing weight. And for about 6 months before I went to this appointment, so starting in like January of 2022, I was like going to the gym regularly. I was eating clean. I was on a medication that I went through this website called Found, I think it was called. I was on a medication that most people lose about 30 pounds when they're on it. I don't even remember what it was called, but it would like make your heart race. It would suppress your appetite. I was barely eating and I was not losing any weight. I think I actually gained weight. So being on this medication and I was paying like $100 a month and nothing happening, I just like knew that something was not right. So they put me on a medication called metformin, which I'm still on, and it's supposed to also help with weight loss. Did not help with weight loss for me at all. But I started taking metformin in June of 2022 and I started going to the doctor in my OB's office. I didn't know after my second meeting with her that she was not covered by my insurance and I got like a huge bill for like $1,000, which eventually went away because it's like a surprise bill. So if you don't know, if you get billed for something through your insurance and you didn't know that you weren't covered, you can like kind of fight it. So it ended up being covered, but it was something where I was like, I can't continue to go to this doctor. And she also like wasn't really helping me. She was just prescribing me this metformin. The only thing that it was doing for me, like the only reason I wanted to stay on it was because one, I was told that this was the treatment for PCOS. And two, it was helping me be more regular when it comes to like going to the bathroom. Not to be TMI, but this is an episode about my health. So I do want to share all of the details with you guys because I just think that people struggle with this as well. And I finally ended up losing over 115 pounds. So if I was able to do this, I want to make sure that you guys have all of the information so that you can do the same if you want to. I knew that I was going to have to go to a doctor in order to get a refill on my medication. So my OB office basically told me that I should be looking for an endocrinologist. So I started looking for an endocrinologist, but I wasn't going to be able to get into the endocrinologist office until the spring. I think it was April. That's how long the wait list was for this doctor. I kind of like just put it off for a while. I just stopped taking the medication. I was waiting to get into this doctor's appointment. But once again, the new year was rolling around and I just was trying to make healthier choices for myself. So once again, January rolled around. I said, this is going to be the year I lose weight. I'm going to start going to the gym more frequently. I'm going to be eating this clean diet because of course, like you fall off and whatever. So one day I was talking to my sister and I was just saying how I was like out of my medication and how I was really just struggling with where I was at and I was waiting to get into this doctor's office because I also was still not getting my period regularly. And she was like, why don't you go to Dr. Kafora? Now, Dr. Kafora was really good friends with my dad and I had no relationship with her. And I was like, I don't really know her like that. I just feel like awkward, like seeing her. And my dad had been asking me for years before he passed to go get blood work done. And I just always pushed it off. And a huge part of it was because I had this shame with my body and I just knew something was not right. And I didn't want, being that she was friends with him, I didn't want her to tell him whatever it was, like if I had diabetes. I didn't want him to know. I didn't even want to know. I was so shameful. And because of that, I put off helping myself for so long because I didn't want to admit that maybe like there were things I needed to do to change my life. So my sister was like, just text her. I text her. She's so nice. Just shoot her a text and go see her. So I was like, okay. I figured I could go see her and just get a refill on my medication. I do want to share this part of the story because it's really special to me. And if I ever forget it, I want it to be recorded so that if I ever watch this video back in the future, that I can look back and remember this. But I remember she texted me and said, call my office and make an appointment and get a blood work slip. So I called her office and I remember being like nervous because I'm like, I don't know what this is going to cost. And at that point, I was also in a complete scarcity mindset when it came to my income. So I called her office and I remember being like, giving them my information and being like, okay, what is this, gonna cost just so I'm prepared? Because I didn't want to go and it's like, $800 and I was not prepared for it. Before my dad passed away, like if I needed something from a doctor, he was who I would call and I would call him so that he would call for me. Like everyone kind of knows like the moment that you have to start making your own doctor's appointments and stuff and like that you don't have your parent to call to just like do things for you and to help you. So he would have been the person that I would have called to be like, hey, can you like call her and make an appointment for me? And like he would have just worked it out for me. It's like hard in the beginning when you're going through grief to have to do those things and know that your dad's not going to be there to like save you if you need saving. So I remember, at this point, I, had been grieving my dad for a while, like over a year. So I didn't say when I called like, oh, I'm Ira Neerman's daughter or anything, but I, was in there already and obviously same last name. And when I asked how much it was going to cost, she was like, oh, you don't pay anything because you're Ira Neerman's daughter. And it was just like the first time in so long that I felt like my dad was taking care of me. Even though he wasn't like here to physically do it, feeling his like care from beyond, like from heaven. It just felt like he was doing it for me, even though it was her, even though she was doing it and she was taking care of me because I was his daughter. It just felt like it was him, you know? So it just felt really special, and it made me have this sense of relief going into my appointment. So let's get it together here. So when I went into my appointment, at this point, I had already been trying actively to lose weight for a while. We went over my blood work, and there were a few things. One, my numbers were there. I was now could be, categorized as diabetic. That's how high my insulin number was. Two, I had really low vitamin D. Three, I had an underactive thyroid. So combining those things with then also having sleep apnea, which we did a sleep apnea test, having sleep apnea and having PCOS, for the first time in my life, a doctor validated that my body was working against me. No matter if it was my fault that I got there, where I was, my body was working against me, and doing simple little things without medical intervention was just not working. She actually said, like, I don't even have to stay on the metformin. She wasn't even really going to recommend it. I did ask to stay on it, and I do still take it because, like I said, it does keep my body more regular. But she put me on a thyroid medication, put me on a vitamin D supplement, and said to me, the reason that you're struggling to lose weight is because all of these things that are happening internally, your cell is not like absorbing nutrients in a regular way. And when you eat something, because you're insulin resistant, typically what happens is when you eat food, it turns into energy, and then you use that to, function. And typically, a typical person will, eat something and get one fat cell, for example. And she said, with me, when I'm eating something, it's turning into 4 fat cells instead of 1. And that there was a reason internally why I was struggling with losing weight, and that these things that we were going to do were going to help with it. The last thing that she recommended for me was to put me on a GLP1 medication. And I had heard about it, but it was not so widely talked about as it is now. So starting in April, I think, or May of 2023, I started my medications, including 5 milligrams of Mounjaro. And I actually remember being so relieved when she brought it up to me, because it was something that I was like curious about, but I didn't know a lot about it, and I didn't know if it was something that I could take. And it was so new to me. Like, I had just seen some information about it on TikTok or something, maybe like a week or two before. It was not as widely talked about. And the thing is that it's all about the information that's shared. So if people didn't share this, people wouldn't know about it. And that's why I'm a big proponent on sharing that I'm on this medication, because I know that I would have needed to see this, and I would have wanted information about what somebody was doing. And I just think it's like not fair to gatekeep. I know that like your health is your personal business, and it definitely depends on you, but like people who just don't want to share that they're on it because they're like ashamed of it or something, it's the people who like really probably don't even need to be on it that feel that way. I mean, obviously I'm overgeneralizing, and it's your business what you want to share, but I just think that as somebody who has struggled with my weight my entire life, like, I'm so grateful to the people who do share what they're doing, because what are we like trying to gatekeep for? Like, you want to be the only one who's skinny? That's fucked. It's not even just about being skinny. It's about your health. I mean, my blood work now compared to how it was a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, it's night and day. I get my period regularly again. My fertility is up. Like, all of my blood work is better. I am healthier because of this medication. So it's really a little like selfish for people to not want to share it. And obviously, like, that's just my own feelings and opinion about it, and you can feel however you feel about it. Maybe you think I'm totally offbeat with saying that, but I just think that like people who really struggle with their weight deserve to know about this, because it's literally a life-changing drug. If you don't know, Mounjaro is an injectable medication. There's also other GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, and there's also at this point like other semaglutide injections that you can take that are compounded versions of these drugs that are cheaper if you can't get it covered through your insurance. I started on the 5 milligram. Now, I do want to say also that at first my insurance company did not cover it. And my doctor had to call and advocate for me and tell them that I'm on this medication because I'm diabetic and I have PCOS. And those are both reasons that this medication should be covered for you. So if you have PCOS or you are diabetic, you should be covered through your insurance company for this medication. And if they're not covering it, ask your doctor to call on your behalf, because at first I was denied as well. And if you can't get covered through your insurance company, you can go through getting it compounded and having a compounded version of the drug. It's basically like taking a generic version of it, and it'll just be like cheaper. And it's something that your doctor might offer. My doctor's office does offer that as well, I just learned. So I started taking the 5 milligram dose, which is the second one up. She said the first one is like you basically would be on it for a month. There's like no point. It's just to introduce you to the medication. So we're going to just go right into the 5. In the beginning, I was so sick, like in the bathroom for 3 hours every morning for the first like 2 or 3 days after taking my injection. And I'm going to insert a clip right here. So this is me taking my first shot. It is a like underneath the skin. It's not like a deep needle. You can barely feel it. It feels like a little pinch. You do it once a week and you do feel side effects all week. A lot of people have asked, like, are there side effects? There are side effects. I'm just going to be completely honest. Vomiting, diarrhea, and like no appetite at all. Some of the side effects you want, like having no appetite, was beneficial because it made me not have cravings, and it suppressed my appetite a lot, that when I ate food, it filled me up quicker. So I quickly learned that when I would take my shot, I should take it on a day that I was going to be off the next day, so that I didn't have to worry about getting up and getting ready to go to work, because sometimes in the morning I literally could not move. Like I was so nauseous, I could not move from the bathroom, and I could not eat anything that would like just digest normally. This did stop. So don't worry, it doesn't last forever. This did stop. Like I have been on this medication for over a year and a half, and it stops. I have like virtually no negative side effects at this point. Being on the medication, you also learn what food noise is, and you're not going to know that you have it until you don't have it anymore. Because I had it. I was always thinking about food. So let me know if this is you. If you wake up and you're like, oh, what am I going to have for breakfast? And you eat your breakfast. And then as soon as you're done with breakfast, you're thinking about, what should I make for lunch? What should I have for lunch today? What should I pick up? And then when you're eating dinner, you're already thinking about what you're going to have for dessert. And then after you have dessert, you're like, what should I have for a snack? If you're just always thinking about food and you're always planning what your next meal is going to be, and you're always thinking about what you could eat, that's food noise. And the food noise went away. Like, are you kidding me? I cannot believe that is like doesn't exist for everyone, because I just thought that was normal. I just thought that's how everybody was, but apparently it's not. People will ask, like, is there any extreme lifestyle change? Like, did I really change the way I ate? Did I really change the way that I like exercise? Did I follow anything like that? Because when you're trying to lose weight, there's so many like plans out there, and I tried so many different plans, but on this medication, you just change by default. Your appetite just changes. The things you crave change. Like I used to eat sushi 5 days a week. I like had no interest in sushi anymore. So I went to the doctor in April, but I could not get approved for the medication and it in my hands until May. And let me also tell you that if you're struggling with finding this medication, because I was getting it from Walgreens and it was always sold out, it was always out of stock, and I really struggled finding it. And the way I finally found it was going to a small pharmacy. So I literally go to like a mom and pop pharmacy now, and I never have trouble getting it. So that's another hack for you. My highest weight, like I said, was 315 pounds. My weight on May 4th, which was when I took my first dose of this medication, I was 308.6 pounds. The next day when I weighed myself, I was 311 pounds. And then I started to lose weight little by little. At the end of the first month, I had already lost 11 pounds. I wrote here in this note thing, I felt like I was not losing any weight this last week, and my hunger and cravings were starting to creep back in. So I felt like it was time to up my dosage. And on May 31st, I went up to 7.5 milligrams. At this point, I was 299 pounds. And at the end of June, so a month later, my total weight loss from the beginning was 17.6 pounds. As time went on, like after the end of July, I had already lost 29 pounds. So within May, June, July, 3 months, I already lost almost 30 pounds. So I was definitely losing weight quickly in the beginning. And then I had went up to the 10 milligrams and had only lost like 5 more pounds that month. And as I'm looking at this note, I notice how, I went from like in October, my total weight loss was 52.6 pounds. In November, my total weight loss was only 56.6 pounds. But I didn't get so fixated on the number because something was finally working. So even if it was taking a long time or it was working slowly, it was working. And nothing had ever worked for me before. I would literally try to do things to lose weight and stay exactly the same or gain weight. So for the first time in my life, I could finally see myself losing weight, and I started having fun with doing the shots, documenting it. I'll insert some videos here so you can see, like, as I was taking it, you can see how my body was changing. And I look back to the heaviest version of myself. I'm like, I don't even remember looking like that. It's funny because other people say that too. Like, my loved ones and my husband, like, we all are like, I don't remember you looking like that. But I think it's because I ended up having this like confidence and way of dressing myself and whatever, that like it was a part of my identity to be overweight, but it was more about being plus size and body positive and loving myself. As I lost weight, I also experienced things for the first time, like loose skin, and like nothing crazy. I'm not like, I don't have like literal only loose skin on my body and no fat, because I still have fat on my body, but I do see loose skin on my arms, my stomach, and it did make me a little bit insecure. And for the first time in a long time, I was more confident, heavier without that, than learning how to like love my body at this phase. I think just knowing, going on this journey and knowing that my self worth is not tied to my weight or how my body looks, it's just made me really love myself through every phase. And I'm still going. And I've never been more motivated to lose weight, be healthy. A lot of people also asked about if there was any kind of like workout plan associated with this. Nothing. I did not start working out until October. So I started the medication in May, June, July, August, September, October. So 5 months on the medication. I'd already lost like 40 or 50 pounds before I even started exercising. Working out when you're 300 plus pounds is really hard. It's really difficult. You don't even like really realize it, but looking back now, I like look at even just sitting still, breathing, like I just heard myself breathe so much heavier looking at old videos versus how I am now. So you just don't realize it when you're in it. But working out was definitely more difficult when I was heavier. So once I was losing weight and I actually saw results, it motivated me to want to exercise. It made me want to work out. So that's what I mean when I say that like losing weight and finally seeing results, when you're not seeing them for so long, it can motivate you to continue to work hard and become this healthier version of yourself. And like I'm so motivated to, I want to lose another like 30 pounds, I think. I just got married in August, and of course, like we've talked about and have thought about getting pregnant and starting a family. And I've had this like inner debate of like, do I want to kind of like give up my body to grow a baby right now when I have worked so hard to lose weight? And I'm not exactly where I want to be yet. And when I went to the gynecologist for my annual, like last week, I just got blood work done, and my insulin resistance is still like a little bit high. It's at a 21 and it should be at a 15. I think when I started it was like 48 or something. It was like really high, so it's come down a lot. I'm in so much better shape, but that is still a little bit high, and so is my testosterone. So there's still some things that I have to work on when it comes to my health. I think that I want to just kind of be a little bit more on this taking care of myself journey for a little bit longer before I start taking care of another human being and like sacrificing my body to grow a human. I want to have healthier habits in place. Like I want to have a more consistent workout routine, because right now fit in my workouts where I can in my schedule, but I just became a stay-at-home content creator as of like 2 days ago. And now I have an open schedule. So now I can actually work in a workout routine and good, healthy habits that I can continue throughout when I finally do decide to get pregnant, so that I can still remain a healthy version of myself and not gain back all of this weight and then like struggle with this journey again, because I am still insulin resistant. I am still struggling a little bit with my, I'm not exactly where I want to be yet. And I think it's just like about finding that healthy balance of I love myself where I am. I'm not, and this was the biggest thing for me, is I'm not going to not do stuff because of my weight. Like, if you've ever felt like, I don't want to book this trip because I'm not going to look good in a bathing suit, like, that's how you know that you need to work on yourself, because that was a huge shift for me. Was like, I'm not going to not have the same experiences as every other 20 something year old person because of what I look like. I'm not going to not wear a bikini because of what other people are going to think, or because I'm scared about not looking as good as my friends. I mean, also, I am friends with, like, there was nobody in my circle that struggled with their weight like me, and most of my friends are like very petite and skinny. So like I was a very large person in a crowd of a lot of like very fit skinny people. And I am like really happy that I never let that stop me from creating friendships with these people, because I was scared of what they were going to think of me. And I really love my friends for always making me feel just as beautiful as them, because I was in my own way and they are in their own way. We're all beautiful in our own ways. I've officially lost like 116 pounds on this medication. I have virtually no side effects at this point. I still experience a lot of the appetite suppression, the the craving suppression, but genuinely, I can like eat whatever I want to eat. It's just that I eat it in moderation now. And honestly, like a lot of the time, for example, let me give you an example. If I want to eat ice cream, it would just be that whatever ice cream I have, I'm eating it because I want ice cream. And now, if I eat ice cream and I don't like it, I can just throw it away. Or if I eat food and I don't like it, I can just throw it away, instead of this kind of like guilt I would have associated with like, I made this, I have to eat it, I have to eat every bite of it. Or like just feeling like if something was on my plate, I had to finish it. Now, if I'm just like done with it, I'm not looking at it like, oh, well, that's a waste. Instead, I'm done. I'm done eating. I'm full. Another thing that I want to say is that while you're on your weight loss journey, sometimes like losing 10 pounds, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. So something that I did that like helped me actually see like this is how much weight I lost was bags of dog food. Like I would bring home a 10-pound bag of dog food and be like, okay, I lost like 2 of these bags. Like that's a lot. Losing 116 pounds, like that's like a whole human being that came off of me. I also want to acknowledge how difficult it is to take advice about weight loss from somebody who does not understand what it's like. And that is really why I wanted to make this episode and talk to you guys about what worked for me, and just be like very open and transparent about this medication, because so many people are on it that don't talk about it. I know so many people who take this medication who just won't talk about it. And that's okay. That's their story, their journey. But I just want you to know that there's no shame with getting help to lose weight. People seem to think that like if you lose weight by like dieting and exercising and like putting yourself through this struggle to lose weight, that it is somehow more noble than just losing it with the help of medication. There's no shame associated with getting help with anything that you do in your life. I think some of us are maybe brought up to feel like there is like this pride in the struggle, but I something that I have realized as I've gotten older is that I want things to happen for me easily, effortlessly, and in a fun, enjoyable way. I don't want to struggle and then be proud that I struggled. That might be someone else's story. That's not my story. I want things to it's the same thing with making money. Like, I don't want to struggle to make money. I don't want to be like, I worked all these jobs and it was so difficult for me and I grinded, 24/7. Like, that's not me either. I want to make money effortlessly. I want money to just fly to me. I don't want the time that I have on earth to be a struggle, a grind. I want it to be happy, fun, easy, effortless. That's what I'm attracting into my life. I also want to encourage you to advocate for yourself with your doctor, and don't be scared to ask about this medication. If you ask your doctor about this medication and they like scoff at you, find a new doctor, because let me tell you, there are doctors out there who are using this as an aid to help their patients. And if your doctor is saying no to you about this medication, then they have to get their ego checked, because this is something that is very helpful and beneficial in losing weight. And if you're somebody who has struggled with weight loss for over 2 years and you feel like you need help, go get the help you need. There's no shame associated with asking your doctor about this. And if your doctor is not willing to advocate and help you, it's just your sign that you're not with the right doctor. I will 1,000% plug my doctor, Dr. Kafora, Ageless MD in St. James. She is absolutely amazing. We just did all of my blood work. My blood pressure is amazing. My cholesterol is amazing. Like everything is so good. And it's all thanks to her. I also feel more energized. I am taking supplements for the first time in my life. I just have a better routine in place because she got me on the right journey. And sometimes I could just feel like this all or nothing kind of thing. Like, well, if I'm not losing weight, then fuck this. I'm just going to do whatever I want. And I just never found the healthy balance. And for the first time in my life, with the help of this medication, I have found the healthy balance. I don't have to restrict myself, but I naturally just do. Like I went to the Bryant Park Winter Village with my friends and we had gnocchi and we had Philly cheesesteak and we had ice cream and waffles and I was able to have everything, but instead of getting my own, I shared it with them. And I was full. Like if you are listening to this and you're like, that just couldn't be me, it could be. You just don't know because you haven't tried yet. I think that if you're taking this medication or you're thinking about doing it, just knowing that it is going to help put you on the trajectory to becoming the healthiest version of yourself so that you can make healthier decisions. Like if you've ever thought to yourself like, oh, I just wish when I was younger I started doing this or I started doing that and maybe I would be in a different place today and I'm so far gone, it's not too late. You can do it now, and if you need help, there's no shame. A huge part of my identity was being the confident plus size girl who, like, this was just unapologetically who I am, take it or leave it. And I really love that version of myself and I celebrate her. I also know that I am also just constantly evolving, and who I am right now might be different from who I'm going to be in 3 years from now. Who knows? We don't know until we're doing it. Something that I also want to just quickly say about Mounjaro and taking it, the reason why it's effective is it helps your body work the way it's supposed to naturally work. And that's the reason why I didn't have to drastically change my diet or my routine, because I wasn't doing anything that was so crazy besides the overeating at night and like the emotional eating. Besides that, what I was normally eating and doing in a day was like completely normal. So what this medication does is it actually just helps your body function in a typical way. I actually just looked up what is Mounjaro and how does it work. So what it is it's a medication that mimics two natural hormones, GLP1 and GIP, which helps regulate blood sugar, slows digestion, and can reduce appetite, leading to improved glycemic control and weight loss. So what it's basically doing is it's taking the food that you're eating and processing it in a normal way that your body's not used to doing. Some of the common side effects: gastrointestinal issues, which is what I was talking about, definitely experienced that myself. Decreased appetite, injection site reactions. This actually did happen to me. I would get very itchy at my injection site, and that does sometimes still happen. And fatigue or dizziness. I actually think I did have a little bit of that in the beginning, but it definitely went away. It says in clinical trials, people lost an average of 15 to 20% of their body weight over 72 weeks, depending on their dosage. I mean, I think I lost more than that, right? If I was 315 pounds and I'm down to 199, I lost like a third of my body weight, right? I'm not good at math, but it's amazing. And I actually did end up going to that endocrinologist. And at that point, I had already lost like 15 pounds. And they suggested weight loss surgery, and I'm like, that's so dumb. I'm literally losing weight on this. Thank God I didn't like listen to him. That's how you just have to go to a doctor that you actually think is going to have your best interest at heart, instead of just kind of trying to push something that's going to make them money, because he basically said like, that's what we do here, is we do weight loss surgeries or shake programs. Like, what? Thank God I went to Dr. Kafora. Otherwise I probably would have listened to him, because I would look at this person as the expert, and if they're telling me that there's nothing else that's going to work for me except weight loss surgery, I would have listened to them. It is also a long-term treatment. People have asked, like, do you have to be on it forever? So you don't have to be on the medication forever. You can definitely get weaned off of it. And me and my doctor have talked about, like, once I was at my goal weight, the process for weaning off of it, which is basically to just start going down to a lower dose and taking it less frequently. But there's also there's nothing harmful about just stopping it. Like when I was in Italy, I didn't take my medication. I didn't bring it with me and I was fine. And I actually wasn't overeating or so hungry or anything. Like I felt exactly the same as I always did because I think my body physically changed. Like my stomach probably shrunk and all of that stuff. Now, the difference between Mounjaro and Ozempic is that Mounjaro also targets GIP, which potentially leads to greater weight loss compared to Ozempic. And actually, the endocrinologist did tell me that too, that Mounjaro was the best for overall weight loss. How you can manage nausea or other GI side effects: start with smaller, more frequent meals, avoid fatty, greasy, or spicy foods, stay hydrated, that's a big one, and discuss it with your doctor if your symptoms persist. So, yeah, those are the most commonly asked questions about it. Obviously, this medication changed my life. I'm actually obsessed with it. It's just been such a positive experience for me, and losing weight for me is about being healthy. But it's something different when you say that versus when someone tells you that you should lose weight to be healthy. Let me worry about myself. Why don't you? Where I'm at right now in my life is about just becoming the best version of myself, which includes having a good routine. It includes having a good workout routine. Pretty low intensity is my vibe right now. Eating foods that make me feel good, but not being restrictive because I just don't think that's sustainable. Investing in new outfits and new clothes. Oh my God, there's been so many people that I've met who have lost weight who have not bought new clothes for themselves. Treat yourself. People wearing clothes and literally bunching it up. No, get some new clothes, babe. This set that I'm wearing, extra large. I was literally wearing 3X, 4X. Do you know how good it is to buy something that's smaller? I've bought size large now. Size 12 jeans. I have not been size 12 jeans since 11th grade. Over 10 years ago. These are the things that are just going to keep you motivated and going on your journey. So book the doctor's appointment, get your blood work done. Don't be scared. Your doctor is there to help you. Don't be scared to go to the doctor because you're scared you're going to be judged. This is your life. This is your life. Your doctor is there to help you become the best version of yourself. If your doctor is judging you, get a new one. If your doctor doesn't want to advocate for you, get a new one. You have to advocate for yourself. You literally have one life. You deserve to be the hottest version of yourself, whatever that looks like. If you love where you're at and this is the stage of life you're in, be in it, love it. I have no regrets about any of my decisions, any of my choices, any of the yummy meals I ate, any of the things. I did not want to be miserable. I still don't. And I'm not. I finally found a solution that works for me. But I also finally, for the first time in my life, have joy in my day-to-day life that is not associated with food and meals. That sounds embarrassing, but it's not. It's reality. If your time to decompress is going out to dinner with your loved ones or sitting on the couch at the end of the night and snacking, it's universal. I don't know why we're so ashamed to share these things, because if we don't share them, we can't change them. Now, food is truly fuel, and I can enjoy a yummy meal and look forward to it and even indulge. But I also can find joy in things like going to a peaceful yoga class that's going to clear my mind, or going shopping and liking what I see on my body. God, and buying something not just because it will fit, but because I actually like it. If something fits, that doesn't mean I automatically buy it anymore. There's just so many things. I think that's the episode. I talked so much. I hope it was helpful. I hope it was relatable. I hope it can help some of you guys get started on your journey. I know there's so many questions when it comes to doing this. I literally researched and tried so many things. This is what worked for me. So I hope that it can help some of you. And beyond anything else, I'm just so grateful that I am so comfortable and confident in my skin. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of The I World. I had so much fun connecting and chatting with you guys today. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Please share with us what you want us to talk about next week, and we'll see you soon. Oh, and by the way, I started my own YouTube channel. I'm going to be vlogging. I have 2 vlogs up. I think I have 5 subscribers. But go check out my other YouTube channel. I'm going to share the details. I'm going to be doing more day in the life, try on hauls, more lifestyle type of stuff. So if you like me and you want to follow along for more, go check out my YouTube channel. And I think we're getting Talia to start one too. Love you guys.